Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I'm going to be reviewing these two sketchbooks and comparing to see which one's better.
Through the wastelands, through the highways, and on we'll go.
I've already finished this sketchbook, but I still had like a couple drawings in there that I was going to do for this video, so back in it for today. In today's review, like, I don't know if it's really a review, but comparing, I'm going to be doing watercolors, paint, and markers, and seeing which sketchbook will hold it up better, like which paper will hold up better. So, Pikachu kind of looks a little deformed there, but I tried to do similar things because I didn't want to be like one was better than the other because of what I drew, so I drew two people, two Pokemon, and then some flowers. So let's get into it. So the lavender painting that I'm doing right now is in the Lukrembo sketchbook, mixed media sketchbook, and the sunflower one is in the Canson mixed media sketchbook. And if like when you're watching this, it's really glitchy. I have no clue why, because right now as I'm editing this, it's really weird. It's like super glitchy and stuff. Hopefully I can fix that though. So like a minute or two after I started painting the lavender, it started to like warp a little bit. I don't know why, because I actually wasn't using that much paint until later on, but for some reason it did start to just bubble a little. Like it wasn't bubbling that much, but like right on the left, like far left lavender, it was a little bit. So here's where I decided to do the teal. It was actually going pretty good for the first part until I started to blend it. And then when I started to blend it, it kind of got a little bit muddy. I actually don't know why for some reason. But if I was to do it over again, I probably would just stick with dark purple. And here's where it gets a little muddy. Next time I'm just going to like wash off my brush and do it like with a fresh brush. Okay, so I just finished the little like lavender painting and I got it all over my nail polish, which is a sand apparently. But let's see. It's not like there's not a lot of warping, but right here it is, like you can tell like there's a little bit of a bubble, just a little bit, because I put this paint on thicker. I don't know if you can tell. You can't really see the shading because it's a little bit darker in my room, but so far so good. We'll have to see when it dries if it goes completely flat, but so far so good. Next, on to the next painting on the mixed media Canson. Okay, so this sunflower was not supposed to look like it was from a coloring book, but it was supposed to look more like detailed and like have a bunch of depth to it. But that's not really how it worked out, because that petal right there that I'm about to do, well, not right there, because I'm about to do it, it kind of got really thick and gloopy. Like, I'm not sure what happened to the paint. It got like super thick and was being all weird. So then I actually had to scrape some off because it was like warping the page and being all weird. But it actually didn't warp that much. I'm feeling the page right here and it only warped a little bit on the edges and where I like messed up on the grass a little bit. But other than that, it didn't actually warp that much. So that's pretty good. And the only place it really warped a little bit was where I kind of messed up with the paint and added like 3,000 layers and then scraped it off. But that's to be expected when I did that. But overall, it didn't warp that much. Compared to the Lukrembo sketchbook, painting is actually, in my opinion anyways, better on the Canson mixed media sketchbook because it warped less. And even though I added a lot of paint and made a few mistakes, it still warped less and it's a lot smoother. But on the Lukrembo sketchbook, it's a lot like more bumpy. Oops, hitting my markers over here. It's a lot more bumpy and like there's a weird texture. I think that might just be where I was layering too much paint though. But overall, I think the Canson mixed media sketchbook does better with paint than the Lukrembo. So at first, like the color that you see me outlining it in, I was actually going to use it as like a shading color for the petals, but when I tried to use it as a shading color, it started to like get like a totally different color into an orange, as you see with the first petal I did, it got really like, I don't know what the word is, weird, like textured wise. So then I just like did a border around it because I didn't want it to be one solid color. Okay, so just finished the one in the mixed media sketchbook, the painting. This one had a lot of thick paint on it because it looks like a 5-year-old drew it, or it's out of a coloring book. But hey, I got some paint on there, and I don't know if you can't really tell, but it's sunken in right here and all right here. So it's kind of bumpy, but we'll have to see what it is when it dries, because when it dries is the biggest thing, but hopefully it looks good when it dries. Real quick, one more thing on the sunflower and then I'll move on to Pikachu, is I did say it was really bumpy at first on the sunflower, but then as the paint dried, and this is the next day that I'm doing this voiceover, it actually really like smoothed out. So yeah. So I am drawing Pikachu on the Grumbatcher sketchbook, and actually I didn't have that many issues with Pikachu overall, but right where his ears are and the top of his head, a little bit like towards the top of his head, is very bumpy. So, and I actually didn't add that much water. I wanted it more saturated for the yellow color, but it is very bumpy there. But overall, I think it's okay, but it's like a lot bumpy. Okay, so does this happen to anybody else? Because when I'm trying to put line art or any type of like outlines on any type of watercolor drawing, like I put it over there and it works for a second, but then it like acts like it's dried up when it was just like super full of ink. And then when I try to like go over it again, it completely dries up. So then I go into a spare piece of paper and try to rub it on there, and then it's like completely dried, so I have no clue. Okay, so the first coat of her wasn't that bad. There wasn't really much warping, but then when I got to the second coat, there wasn't like extremely large amount of warping, just a little bit at her ear, because I had to do 2 coats because then it started to like get streaky and stuff. But overall, I actually think it was pretty good because it didn't warp that much. And I actually didn't pronounce her name yet because I was like, how do you say that? But I think it's Jigglypuff. And if that's not her name, sorry, because I just googled it because I didn't know what her name was. But I wanted to draw her. So I painted Jigglypuff in the Canson Mixed Media Sketchbook. And for me personally, I think the Canson Mixed Media Sketchbooks does really well with paints, like acrylic paints. I've never done gouache, so I don't know, but I know it does really well with acrylic paints and watercolor, because it doesn't like, it's not been like warping a lot, and when it does, it goes back down when it's done. So I think it's overall pretty good. So here in a second, you'll see at the top of her head, or I guess right here in a second, you'll see where the liner, like the liner just decides like to just die. It doesn't even like put out any more ink. And I was thinking that was weird because it was like brand new. And I was like, how could it be out of ink? So then I rubbed it on a bunch of paper, and it was actually not out of ink at all. For some reason, the watercolor just has been doing something weird to the liners. Sorry about the background noise in the last voiceover, because I was actually pulling the paint off of my paint palette because it finally dried. So I thought, while I'm doing the voiceover, I'll pull off the paint off the paint palette, and I actually didn't expect it to pick up on my mic. I'm drawing her on the Canson Mixed Media Sketchbook, and actually, when I was coloring her, nothing actually went through either one of the sketchbooks when I was doing the markers, like at all. So then I did a second test where I would just go back and forth like as many times as it took to bleed through. So I could see which sketchbook could hold more alcohol markers. I did Krumbacher Mixed Media first, and it could hold like 15 to maybe 20 layers of markers. I did 20 layers, but then it started to bleed through a little bit. So then I think about like 15 layers, and then I did Canson Mixed Media, and I did 10 layers, and it started to bleed through. So for markers, I think Krumbacher is a very good choice, and then Canson, I think paint, like acrylic paint and watercolors. So there's no really like defined winner of which one's best for all, because I think watercolors and paint are best on Canson and markers are best in Krumbacher. So whichever medium you use most, I would just go off of that. If you use markers most, I think Krumbacher would be the best, and if you use watercolor and paint, I think Canson would probably be the best. But whatever sketchbook you have, I think any sketchbook will work. This is just like how well you want it to hold the paint or watercolors or markers and not like bleed through or warp. But any sketchbook will work. I used to use just whatever paper I could find, so any sketchbook will do, and it's perfectly awesome. In the future, I might do different brands of sketchbooks, like ohuhu's marker pad, or just different brands, but these are the two brands, Krumbacher and Canson, that I've seen mostly on YouTube lately. I've seen them everywhere, so I thought, hey, I have both, why don't I do a review? So I might do a different review on different sketchbooks brands. One thing that I do really like that Krumbacher Mixed Media has that Canson doesn't is that you can pull up the pages. You can't really see here because this is the Canson Mixed Media sketchbook that I'm working on right now, but in just a minute you'll see that you can pull out the pages of the Krumbacher sketchbook, and you can reinsert them anytime you want, or you could just take off the insert thing and then have it as a piece of paper. But with Canson, on the other hand, you can't. Once you take it out, it's permanent. So that is one thing that I do like, is that you can take it out and put it back in anytime you want. So I think that's... Here in just a second, I'll be showing that the 10 layers on the Canson sketchbook does bleed. It doesn't bleed a lot, but that still could be noticeable. And here I'm starting on the Krumbacher sketchbook marker, marker illustration or drawing. So the lighting gets crazy right here. I have no clue why. I've even turned down the brightness on the video. But for just a minute, it will get a little bright. But don't forget to like the video if you guys like these more talkative videos, because I feel like I've talked every second of the whole video. So if you guys like these, please leave a like, because I don't know if I should put more music in or do more of these talkative videos, or I don't know. So you seen with the girl with the pink hair, I did my normal eye style of drawing eyes, and here I forget what I got inspiration from somebody. I don't know their name. If I remember, I'll put it in here, but I wanted to try out a new eye style, and I thought the little, just the circles, but with the the normal eyes. I don't know really how to explain it, but I was trying out a different eye style, and I actually think it looks pretty good. So about a month ago, when I was going to actually film this video, I've just been procrastinating a little. I actually drew this in 2 Canson Mixed Media sketchbooks, because I got 2 Canson Mixed Media sketchbooks for Christmas. I know I still have them, it's been a while since Christmas, but so I drew the 2 separate drawings. So I drew this boy, and I drew it in a mixed media Canson, and I was like, oh my goodness. So I had to redraw all of the drawings in a Krumbacher sketchbook, because I drew them both in a Canson sketchbook. So I was procrastinating because it was taking so long to do the drawings and then all of the stuff. And here's the 20 layers on the Krumbacher sketchbook. And you can see it did bleed through a lot, because that's because I did 20 layers. I normally wouldn't do 20 layers. And then here you can see it's not very bad on each sketchbook. I've already told you the opinion of paint and watercolor better for Canson, and Krumbacher better for markers. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed the video.